This is episode 2 of R.O.A.R, the 90s Rave podcast, exclusive rare joint interview with happy hardcore giants Force and Styles. We hope you enjoy it just as much as you seem to enjoy episode 1. And we'd like to dedicate this one to Force and Styles' hugely popular MC Junior, who sadly passed away on New Year's Eve 2011 and was taken way too soon. Welcome to part 2 of this exclusive interview with Force and Styles on R.O.A.R, the 90s Rave podcast with me, Tom Latcham, and Chrissy Richards and Paul King Styles and George the Dog.
We've heard about what makes these boys tick and how they came to work together, so let's find out how they became the biggest act in happy hardcore.
So you were signed by Chris Howell, Lunacy, at Night Force as Force and Evolution. That was in around 93, I think, along with James Broomfield and Paul Hughes. How did that come about?
That came about, if my memory serves me correctly.
You go for it and I'll tell you if you're right.
Okay. So, we were down at Oscars and there was a night down there, and we'd previously seen Chris Howell was pretty famous at the time in Essex because he was obviously his Smarties track was really big at the time. He came down for a night. He was raving down there. And I think we were able to get his number and then send him a demo tape.
I think he was hanging out with some friends of friends, wasn't he? That's what it was.
Yeah.
And then got a demo tape, and then he got back in touch, and that's kind of how it happened. But we've got some amazing pictures of those first times when that was huge for us, wasn't it?
Oh, mate, yeah.
Driving down there to Chris's down at Buckhurst Hill and being in the studio, eating pot noodle, got those pictures, and it was incredible. It's just like a dream to come true. So we had a lot to thank Chris for. Back in those days.
Yeah, he kicked it all off for us, didn't he, really?
Massively.
What was it like working with him?
I was, again, being a shy lad, I was pretty nervous. And I remember as well, I had it would have been boy flu back then, but I had man flu then, and I felt absolutely crap. And I just remember it as well. And he was really professional because he was starting up his label. It was already a success, and he'd had big success. And I think we really looked up to him, didn't we?
Oh God, yeah. And then meeting everyone else on the label as well. It's quite daunting, to be honest, to go into that. There's this group of friends that are working together, and there's these, Force Scroats come down from Clacton who weren't initially part of the,
because they were a real crew. They were the Night Force crew, and then suddenly we came down as outsiders, and it was that was a bit sort of nerve-wracking, really.
Were they welcoming?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess there was times when you're always going to feel that you're not as, because they'd all been friends for ages, and we were kind of the outsiders, and we didn't spend that much time with them because we lived somewhere else and they all lived in the same place. So but as welcoming, yeah, absolutely. We had good times, didn't we?
Really good times,
good fun.
And how much did he shape what you did in those early days?
What kind of happened was we unlike today, if you were going to someone else's studio, you'd end up taking your laptop and a hard drive, and that'd be about it. But we went down there with 2 cars worth of keyboards and you name it, we had it, didn't we? Because obviously that's how everything. So we set it all up, and then Chris got his mixing engineer down. I'm pretty sure his name was Mike.
It was Mike.
Actually.
Yeah.
Look at that, my memory's legendary.
Mike from Strictly Underground. Mike.
Strictly Underground. Yeah. So he would do the levels and the mastering for all of Chris's stuff back then. So we basically set all of our stuff up, didn't we? We were working on Notator at the time, which was a computer program back then on the Atari, I think. And so Chris would come and say, we need to add in some better break beats than that. We changed some break beats around, didn't we? And obviously Mike did.
Well, we changed it. The way we worked at the time, because we had Replay 2, was it? It's something called Replay 2. It's basically a sampler. Back in those days, you could have 2 samples playing at the same time. So our break beats were off of a drum machine, weren't they?
Yeah, as opposed to being real sample drums.
Yeah, so one of the first things that changed was going through break beats, going, let's try this, and laying break beats together. And that kind of was the first big thing that Chris had kind of got us to do. And but we had to do that because we didn't have any choice. You know, we couldn't sample any.
But that was awesome
else.
for us because we were actually getting to use samples that you hear on other big records, and it was like, yeah, that's how we wanted it to sound, but we couldn't quite make it sound like that in the first place.
And you started off quite dark, 12 Midnight, a sort of hardcore jungle crossover, really cracking tune.
But I guess
why didn't you make more of that stuff?
Well, I guess 12 Midnight was one of our first attempts of trying to be different. Wasn't it? Because we wanted to do something different because everything was piano based, and as far as I remember, is there any piano in 12 Midnight? I can't remember, but you know, let's try something different, let's do something dark, and that was kind of the first attempt at doing that.
Because it's so not what you're known for, or you became known for in the end, but it was a
but I think
song.
around that time there was a darker vibe with the music,
massively darker vibe. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, as Metalheads was around at that time and all that.
It
kind
was
of
coming
stuff,
out of what I guess I would refer to as like the breakbeat hardcore stuff from the early 90s. And then this was before sort of jungle and drum and bass and hardcore kind of split because it wasn't sure where it was. So, and it was mostly dark. And then if you wanted to be dark, you followed down the drum and bass jungle route. And if you wanted to be more happy, that's when it sort of turned into more of the hardcore route, I think, or the happy hardcore.
What made you want to go down the happy route rather than the darker route?
We were happy guys, weren't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
You are happy guys.
Is that an upbringing thing?
Well, like I said to you earlier, we played both drum and bass and hardcore at Oscars, and I think it was a natural progression for us because we'd started to make music that was hardcore, wasn't it? We didn't start making drum and bass; we started making.
But
hardcore.
You can make uplifting drum and bass.
Oh,
what I mean
absolutely.
is the sort of uplifting sound that you became renowned for, and that you just said that you liked. Slipmatt said, the reason I made happy hardcore is because I'm a positive, happy person, and so therefore my music reflected the way I felt and the way I wanted to feel. Is that similar with you? And you know, you say, Darren, that you were a bit of a mummy's boy, right? Mm-hmm. So you know, you obviously have a nice family background and a nice family upbringing. And do you think that shaped the sort of music that you were making in that sort of more happy way?
I mean, possibly. I mean, songs, you know, anything that was song based or uplifting was where. That's the kind of music that I would latch onto. So I guess, excuse me, you know, trying to get that kind of vibe into songs that we were making was what we were about.
Yeah, well, going back to the influences was early piano house. So we kind of, I think, took that.
Yeah.
And I always remember when writing vocals, I just had in my head still that kind of real stressed kind of female vocal thing going on, which generally is happy, with a big piano behind it. And I think that's where it all came from, really, wasn't it?
And your early stuff was played by Carl Cox, right? And did you hear him play it live for some of your stuff?
No, that was in Atmosphere magazine. We kind of read about that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Fall Down on Me, wasn't it?
Yeah, he'd reviewed it. And at the end of it, funny enough, he did his review, and then at the end it said, "This is how a breakbeat tune should be made." And we're like, "What the hell has he just said?"
that was our very first release as well.
Very first release, yeah.
How did you feel?
Oh,
yeah, awesome, wasn't it? That was on red vinyl as well, wasn't it?
It was vinyl, yeah. To get that kind of adulation from someone like him, it was like, Christ, we might actually do all right at this. You know, so you didn't really.
Is that when you thought maybe we can make a career out of it?
I don't think that was ever.
Yeah, I don't think we really ever thought about that. We were just in the moment doing it.
Everyone says that as well. I think so far everyone's at no point where they ever kind of like, this is where I can make a career. You just
I think
keep going.
We've said this so many times. That is where the dynamic changes, is when it becomes a career and it's all about making money to pay the bills and not 4 guys having fun or 2 guys just having fun making music because that's what you want to do. It changes. And suddenly the need to make the next big track happens. And that's when
it's got to
lines get blurred a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be difficult to balance as well, that whole needing to make money, because everyone's got to pay bills, right? You can't do everything for free, but then also releasing music that you love and want to play.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was working full-time up until 95, I think I left, and that's when we kind of... So all through the Force and Evolution stuff, Sense of Summer on Slipmatt's label, and very early Force and Styles days, I was still working full-time. And then it was only around 95 when I come out of that,
Were you doing computers at that?
Computer tech at the time, yeah. It was a bloody good job and decent wages back in those days. And I went, do you know what? I'm out of it. And funny enough, that the thing that I was at work one day, they must have known something was going on because I started off there clean cut, straight out of school. And then about 92, I started
every Monday. He's terrible. I got my out.
Literally, what is wrong with you today? Oh, it's a weekend, wasn't it? Grew my hair, had a ponytail by the time I left there. And I remember being at work and my mobile phone, we weren't allowed to have the phones on it. We did have those in those days, but 1995. My phone rang and I was looking at it going, who's that? As I picked it up, is that Paul? I said, yeah, it's Murray. Murray? Dreamscape. I was like, notice. Literally got that phone call and I'm like, that was me done.
That's not a bad thing, is it?
No, it's not a bad thing, no.
In terms of sense of summer, Paul's got a question.
Why the name change?
Good question. Do you remember why?
Of course I don't.
So this is just an interview with Force, really, isn't it?
I mean, it wasn't a name change, as in we just wanted to. It was just another.
It was very much done, as far as I can recall, for respect to Chris, because Chris had taken us onto Night Force as Force and Evolution, and Matt wanted us to do some stuff with him, and we was like, we'd spoken to Chris. He's like, yeah, that's not really a problem, but he would have preferred it a name change. And we said, yeah, that's, and we said to Matt, have you got an issue with that? And he said, no, not at all. So we did it really out of respect for Chris and keeping the Force and Evolution name on Night Force at the time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And how did you then end up as a duo? Why did you part from James and Paul?
They were both working full time, weren't they?
Yeah.
I think they were both.
It was. They were still working full time, and obviously you'd quit your job. I didn't have a job. Never had a proper job. And then
apart from behind the bar,
yeah. I did work in a supermarket for about 2 weeks, but that was I did not enjoy that. So. And
the way things are going, you might end up back there. So
it's true.
Yeah,
straight in there with the daggers.
Unbelievable.
I'm talking COVID, not
yeah. So we were still, obviously, Paul was there, and the studio was at Paul's house. So I was still able to go around there and make music, which is what we did.
So what, they just said, we just can't do this. We just have to, we've got to carry on with our jobs.
Very much like where there was that kind of change when Darren started doing Unique and things like that. Circumstance allowed it to happen. So Paul and James were working full time. We were in the studio. Oh, let's do some stuff together, And funnily enough, even though we did that, the first release on UK Dance was Paul and James's track,
right?
New Motion. So they kind of worked together, and we did our stuff together, and that's kind of how it happened.
And when did they just leave a scene and go away? And how did they feel about that as well? Because you said you were gutted when you split up as a twosome. When they were leaving the Evolution, they must have been upset too.
I mean, I guess, I don't know. I mean, no one's ever really said anything about it.
James carried on making music, didn't he?
Yeah, James is still making music now. Yeah, but I mean, it was nothing was ever said at the time. I don't think anyone felt bad about it. Not that it's told us anyway. So they might now after they hear this, possibly. Who knows?
Oh, we'll get them on.
Yeah.
Every person reach up on the sky,
So which of your tunes that you've released, both as Force and Styles and Force and Evolution, are you the most proud of, and are you the least proud of?
Most proud? It's very difficult because I'm super proud of those. Of them all, the first Force and Evolution record, because obviously that was our initial start, that we actually had a record, a physical record in our hand with our music on it. So I'm proud we got that moment, which again is, thanks to Chris for giving us that opportunity. In terms of Force and Styles, part of me wants to say Heart of Gold, because that was so huge for us. Pretty Green Eyes, because it's continued to be huge for us. Pacific Sun, I still love. Paradise and Dreams is holds a special place in my heart as well. That record. I think least proud. I'm not sure Funfair was our finest moment.
Shocker! I love that tune. How dare you?
Have you ever climbed a mountain and tried to touch the stars? Have you flown a rocket to the moon? Or maybe
But yeah,
Well, there's a reason for Funfair, and again, it was one of those things. Hicksy had obviously come out with Toy Town with Sharky, and it was just us putting our little slant on that, really, wasn't it? I mean, let's do one of those. That's
exactly what it is. Again, you see something work on the dance floor, and you think, oh, we'll try and make something in our kind of style.
I remember
like
getting
that.
so much grief when we went down to JTS to cuts and dubs that week. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah,
I could bet actually.
Freddie Fresh
Freddie Fresh plate was like, what's this shit? What the fuck is this?
He'd probably just had like Fabio and Groove Rider in bringing like the coolest drum and bass in, and then suddenly we turn up with Funfair and it's like, have you ever climbed a mountain and tried to touch
None of
the
your fucking
stars?
business, mate. Just cut the record.
Oh, Freddie was funny though. He really was.
He used to cane me because I turn up with a packed lunch made by my mum.
In your school trousers and your school shirt.
He'd literally be he would be cutting dubs, right, drinking a Red Stripe, and I'd be sitting there eating a sandwich that my mum had made me that morning.
Very sweet. You said you've said before that you didn't make a huge amount of money, but you did set up your own record label, UK Dance. How did you not make any money?
Well, like I said, the money we did make went back into the studio.
Right, okay.
So, and
Was that an error?
I suppose if we knew at that time that equipment would be defunct within a few years, then probably, yeah. But at the time, it's what we wanted to do. Is it an error? Possibly. I don't know.
How easy was it to set up a label back then?
Very easy.
It was easy.
Yeah, everyone was doing it, wasn't they? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
thing then. It's just, you go to a pressing plant. I mean, they did it all for you anyway. All you send down your masters, they do it all for you. You pay them. It's simple as that, really.
Okay. Well, we've heard about the songs that you love of your own and you're not so keen of your own. But on the 90s Rave podcast, we like to find out which tunes that you absolutely hate, which rave tunes you hate, and you want to put into Tune 101. So we want 3 tunes.
3?
Yeah.
What, you can't think of 3 bad rave tunes over the last 30 years?
Can I start with one? It is actually one of ours, and there's a reason for this. And I think it was probably the only one that we haven't done in our own studio. Do you remember it? I think it's called Dancing Through the Night. It came out on Impact. And
Oh yeah.
we did it with John with Seduction. Now, John is an awesome producer, and the track, well, one, it doesn't sound like a Force and Styles track, it sounds like Seduction. And I think my bugbear is that it's the first time we'd gone to a studio, and I was sat there like a lemon while he was on the keyboard, John was doing the producing, and I did nothing. So
Did you let you twiddle any of
it
the
was
knobs in his
Styles'
own
Seduction
studio?
track, to be
It's
honest
got
with
to go
you.
further right, mate. It's got to go further right.
So that for me,
Did you
because
still get royalties for that? Because we need to have words about that.
I
then,
think we
didn't
do need to have a chat with him if we can find him. But that for me was a track that I listened to it and I think, who's done that? And then someone goes, it's yours. And it's like, really? And then I look back at, oh God, yeah, I remember doing that now. And so that for me is a track that I just kind of would like to sort of
Cool.
put
But
away.
you don't get to cop out just by picking one of your own.
Yeah, you've got to pick other people's tunes.
Yes, lay it all down.
Oh my god! Well, I mean, like we were saying earlier, there's been some bad tunes, but I can't say that I hate any of them because they make up the whole
Such a good
the
answer.
whole thing. No, but listen, I'm not going to be. I might be controversial with this but let me explain myself. I would put Toy Town in. Right, and the reason I put Toy Town in is not because it's a bad record, because it's an amazing record and still is, I think, anyway. But it was so goddamn big that anything else that you played around it at that time that record came out just didn't cut the mustard because it was just so massive and you could not play it. Do you know what I mean? And everyone played it. Every DJ at the gigs was playing that record. So you turned up to a rave from 9 till 5 and that was getting played in every DJ set. So that's probably the only reason I'd put that in, is because it was so big at the time. It was almost too big. So sorry, Hicksy and Sharky, it's gone in room 101.
Yeah.
It's not the first time, actually.
there is
Toy
also
Town
this-
has done. No, you're not the first person to
There's
say
also
Toy
another
Town.
track. I don't know, have you heard this track called Striker? I think that can go in as well.
Yeah. Paul's obviously listened to a previous podcast of ours. There was a lot of bad hardcore tunes, wasn't there? There was a period where it got incredibly cheesy and badly produced more.
Well, do you know what? Going back to, I think we mentioned it earlier, we had a set of tracks that we kind of stuck to playing, and we would only play the ones that we thought were really worth playing. And half the time, the others, you don't know what they're called because you kind of not playing them. So that's the reason we didn't play them, is because we didn't like them.
You
But
can always sing the ones you didn't like,
No.
and
but Darren can.
we'll be able to
Darren
name
can.
them.
He'll sing it.
Like I said, if you've got the auto-tune handy, I'd gladly do it.
I mean, it's such a difficult question because I couldn't honestly think off the top of my head, apart from because I had that track that I mentioned, the Dancing Through the Night. That was the one I really wasn't into, and I'd probably do it with labels. I mean, there was some of the labels that have been mentioned earlier, which were just kind of sample based. There was no kind of, it was just bootleg stuff really, and a lot of that. I can't even remember some of the names of the flipping labels now, but this was kind of probably about 94, 95, just transitioning between
Naughty, right? That would be one.
Well, do you know what's the funny thing is Naughty, the first couple were actually really good.
I like a lot of
Yeah,
them.
I used to play them.
The first couple were really good, and then I think they run out of ideas.
Well, it was
And
just complete bootlegs, weren't it?
was
Yeah.
complete bootlegs, yeah. So there's some labels you kind of steer clear of after they got to about the third release. There's nothing else to go with it. So that's about as far as I can go with that.
Just quickly, you mentioned that Dancing Through the Night.
Yeah.
What about the flip side, Down to Love?
That as well.
Yeah. See, the thing is, they sound, I mean, you can tell Seduction's engineered them.
Yeah.
But Down to Love sounds more Force and Stylesy than Through the Night.
Yeah, I think for me the reason for it was because of the whole. I was kind of so outside of it and didn't really have, apart from saying, "Oh yeah, I like that and I like that," didn't have much input and involvement in the track, so it always felt a bit weird to me. I did listen to them again the other day, and it was literally, I can't remember who it was that said to me about this track with your name on it, and I listened to it and I was like, and then I had to look it up and then figured it was the one that we'd done with John. And that's why it didn't sound like us and I didn't recognise it. So,
And I don't think we really played them in our sets as well, did we?
no.
Yeah.
That's telling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's no disrespect to John at all, because he was a fabulous
production
producer.
was
Yeah, it's-
ridiculously good, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was a for us to go down there and actually work in his studio and see him working and stuff, it was awesome.
Yeah.
So, sorry, so I'm going to ask another question then. So, Sense of Summer on top, easing on, Slipmat Studio.
Well, we made them, didn't we, at home?
We made the tracks and then we took them down to the studio that Matt was using,
Right.
and his engineer mixed them down, basically.
Right, okay.
Is what happened.
Got
So
it.
it was a similar situation to working down at Night Force. It was making them at home, taking all the kit down there, plugging it all in, and that's why, again, they will sound slightly different. However, it is our content.
Cool.
On Top is like just about as happy as it gets. But it's such a fucking tune. Absolute tune.
It worked. And then, of course, there's Techno Around the World, which was really kind of the first delve into a bit of kick drum.
Yeah.
And there's that, but we tried to mix it up a bit. What's on the other side of
Easing on.
Easing On? Which was just obviously full on. A little kick drum in the back of
That was one of my favourites, that one.
Yeah, you said that, except for the amount of thunder that we put in there. We kind of overdone it a little
Yeah,
bit
there
on
was
the
a bit.
thunder.
Yeah. Let's use a thunder. We've got a
Use
thunder sample.
Yeah.
Where is the noise inside, but the most style.
Now we arrive at our Mr. and Mrs. where we get to we get to find more out about you guys, and maybe you'll find things out about each other. Shall I go first?
You can indeed, yes.
Okay, so this is to you, Darren. If Force could have plastic surgery, what one thing would he have done?
Make his legs longer.
Is that right?
I know he's mentioned it. It's not a bad idea, really, is it?
What's, Darren, is the most embarrassing thing that Paul has ever done?
Embarrassing to...
Oh, there's a few.
Okay, probably the most embarrassing thing is... Oh, no, there's a few, but they're all
Remember who
embarrassing
might be
but fun.
listening to this, Dan.
There was an embarrassing time actually at Hardcore Heaven in Bristol when he played the same record twice in the set.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I've been known to do that quite a lot.
Okay, so it's not embarrassing.
Okay,
It's
cool.
just
That's
de
a cool
rigueur.
thing. That's your thing.
Well, as you've noticed today, my long-term memory is fantastic. My short-term is shot. So,
Okay. Good excuse.
To be fair, if you've got a tune that's a winner,
absolutely,
just play it. Why stop it
not?
twice?
There's a funny little story to add to that. Sorry to mess this little segment up. So our friend Lee, who's now his agent, has got a pub in Colchester, and he's occasionally asked me to, if they haven't got a DJ, can you come down and DJ? Just random pop stuff or wedding set, as I call it. And the first time he'd asked me to do it, gone in, and our friend Mark was there and decided to get me a little bit drunk on various shots. And I was DJing away and I was having great fun until one of the barmen came over and said, Paul, you do realise this is the fourth time you've played this? And it wasn't twice, it was 4 times.
Wow. That is
You see where I'm coming from, right?
Yeah, I apologise for that.
Okay, so Darren, what is the most likely thing that Paul would end up going to prison for?
Oh my gosh. Overpopulating the world with children.
I don't,
Is that legal?
unfortunately, I don't know that's a criminal offence.
Don't move to China.
They moved to China, yeah.
And which celebrity would he say he most looks like, Darren?
George Clooney, maybe?
Yeah, there's another one there.
Okay,
The Silver Fox. Loves an espresso.
Yes, far too many of them.
And what would he say is the main thing you're most likely to argue about?
Oh gosh. Well, that's a tricky one because we've never argued, but I have no idea.
His hair colour.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, there you
But he
go.
still has it.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good one actually.
What would he say, or would you say that he would say is his worst habit?
Mr. Hobbs's worst habit. I mean, I know he used to bite his nails and still do, so yeah, probably biting nails.
Okay.
And who would he say is the most talented musically out of the two of you?
Who would he say?
Who would he
I
say?
mean, I think he'd...
I think I'm honest about that, aren't I?
Yeah, you've said it to me many times, so yeah, he would say me.
And is he right?
Yeah.
Musically, well, as in playing the keyboard, I'd say yes.
And singing, of course.
That as well.
Oh, that's not too bad. You did. How many did we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You got 5. That's quite good.
Ah,
You know
okay, right.
Quite well.
Paul, now it's your turn. Who is the biggest Essex boy?
I guess that's probably got to be me, is it?
Would you agree with that one, Darren?
I would agree with that one.
Who would he say is his celebrity crush?
Ooh. I'll probably go with Danny again.
No, it sounds like it's been updated.
Yeah. No, well, do you know what? I'll tell you what. It used to be Cheryl from Girls Aloud.
God.
That's who it used to be. I don't really have one these days, but yeah, she used to be my celeb crush.
I think that's a...
That's a no.
That's
yeah,
a definite
wrong.
no.
Which tune would he say is his favourite that you made together?
Pick one of the 4 that I mentioned.
Yeah.
I'll just say yes.
Let's go with Pacific Sun.
But, you know, he did say short-term memory is shit.
That's true.
Yeah, if I picked one of the non-4, that would have been ridiculous. Yeah, so let's go Pacific
Yeah,
Sun.
no. If I was put to the point, I'd say it was Pacific Sun.
I know the answer to this myself.
God, I hope
Who
it's
gets
right.
into the most trouble?
Oh, no, I'd best come clean and say it's me.
Yes, indeed. We thought it
Yeah,
probably
it's
would be
just
that.
do we even need to wait for him
No,
to
you don't
answer,
even have
really?
to ask that question.
What would Darren say is his biggest achievement?
Oh, that's interesting because he's got one recently, which was quite a big achievement, I think. But I don't know if it's his biggest because you've got the Spotify. How many streams was it on Spotify?
10 million.
10 million
Wow,
streams on Spotify.
very
Jeez,
good.
For electric. Oh, was it just the label in general? Or,
No, for Switch. Just
for
one
Switch.
song.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
10 million for one
million.
song?
Yeah.
So what's that about 35p?
Spotify,
You actually, I tell you what, they are terrible, but you can work it out by they give you $4,000 per million stream, basically.
Right, okay.
So yeah, it's not great in comparison to what it used to be like
Yeah.
in
But,
terms
you know,
of sales.
It's not.
But
It's not bad.
realistically-
If you're getting 10 million, it's all right.
Realistically, it was that in terms of achievement. It
Did
wasn't
you know?
great.
I mean, you probably know this. That you know that they include streams now in the charts, right? And so basically, that you have to listen to half a minute of a tune for it to count as a stream. And so Ed Sheeran is like the top, right?
Yeah.
By quite a distance, I think. It was a year or two ago anyway. And I read that a lot of artists, and I wonder if you're doing this, Darren, a lot of artists are creating intros that are fantastic. And then the rest of the tune doesn't really fucking matter. So, is that something that you've?
I don't know,
maybe, you know, have you been listened to 10 million times, but just for 31 seconds?
I don't know, but I'm going to leave this interview now and go back to the studio and start making some intros.
And next question: what is his phobia or fear?
Oh God, I didn't know there is.
Everyone's got one.
Oh, God, do you know what? It's a long time, isn't it? I don't know what it is. You never used to like travelling much back in the day, did you? So flying was always one of them. There is another one which I can't remember what it is now.
Do you still have a phobia of flying? I mean, that's not very compatible with the job, is it?
I didn't have a phobia of flying. I mean, if I would have said you're right with that anyway, yeah. It's not a phobia of flying. I was homesick.
Just didn't like travelling.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's a crazy thing to be in the job that I'm in, but I've kind of grown with it now. But I've obviously had to. But back in the day when we first started doing it, it used to fill me with a lot of anxiety.
That would have been your mum then initially, but now you've got your own family.
Yeah.
Do you still feel that for your family now? And sometimes do you take them with you because it's very difficult to go away and leave your family all the time?
No, they don't come with me when I travel, but I do sometimes get. I think the difference now is obviously I've grown up with it, and plus I've had to because I generally travel on my own. I mean, back then we travelled as a twosome, or if not more of us. But whereas now I'm generally going here, there, and everywhere on my own, unless I've got a tour manager with me. But yeah, sometimes when I look at my diary and I see tours in China and then going over to somewhere else in Malaysia and then somewhere else, that can fill me with a little bit of dread, if I'm honest, until I'm there playing the gigs. The travelling side of it still, sort of weighs a bit on me.
Is that the homesickness and or the travel itself?
It's probably both. I don't enjoy the travel, and I miss being home. It's as simple as that, really. I miss sort of just being home, just normal stuff. But the gigs, the shows themselves will. When you're up there doing it, everything else sort of pales into. And
also, you're providing for your family too, aren't
absolutely,
you? So it's a choice you make.
It's my business, so it's what I have to do. But yeah,
okay.
That was a long-winded answer. Sorry.
Yeah, but it is quite lonely though. I think everyone thinks it's all just glam.
No,
but a lot of it is travelling by yourself. And missing family. And...
On paper, it looks awesome when you sort of. When you're doing shows here, there and everywhere. But realistically, you're on a plane, you go play that place, you don't really see any of it, you're on a plane again the next morning, you've had no sleep, and everyone's like, yeah, you can sleep on the plane, it's absolutely fine. But, well, that's fine if you can sleep on a plane, but generally most people can't sleep particularly well. And then you go somewhere else and you're picked up by people you've never met before, and then you go and play the gig, and then...
Do you fly... Do you insist on first class, or do you have to go in cattle class?
It's usually business, actually. So It does that. I mean,
that
joking aside, it takes the sting off it. It does take the sting off it. But realistically, I've been doing this for 27 years. So it's something that I just,
We're not calling you a diva, mate. You do what you got to do to get through it. And at the end of the day, if someone's willing to foot the bill, why not?
Yeah, you've got to do it to keep some sort of level of sanity.
Well, a funny little story. I hope he doesn't mind me telling you this, because we still, up until recently, we was playing for George in Canada, weren't we?
Yes.
In the Heart of Gold parties in Toronto. And of course, it's only going back a few years, so he's done so much more since obviously those old days. But getting onto the plane, he turns left, I turn right, and
see you later, kids.
See you later, mate.
I think I sent him some peanuts
But do you know what? It is what it is. He's deserved every bit of it. Yeah. So,
well, I'm delighted to say that you are level pegging going into this last question. Ooh. So it's make or break. It's 5-all.
This is a very important one. Who is the funniest?
Oh, funny in different ways. He's really good at, I don't know, just having these funny mannerisms and stuff like that. I'm probably more off the cuff, taking the piss, kind of funny, maybe, possibly. But like these little duck faces doing that.
So who's the funniest, Paul?
Oh God, I'm going to go for me. Actually,
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'll give him that. I'll give him
And
that
in
one.
seeding that, not only have you admitted that he's the funniest, you've lost the Mr. and Mrs.
You let
round.
him win.
That is the kind of guy I am. However,
Go on.
I'm just throwing
you
this
want an
week.
equaliser now?
No. But we didn't clarify this point because he said your question was about my biggest achievement, and he mentioned about the Switch.
That's true.
However,
and
and you didn't say to me, Darren.
Darren, what is it? You know, are we going to level this up?
Hold on, I didn't finish answering.
Now they have an argument.
Let's go back to it, son.
So I was actually going to say he's had so many achievements during his career. It's going to be very difficult. I would say Tomorrowland is probably one of them. Electric Daisy Carnival is probably one of them. As well as the Switch
And
thing.
you can frankly say anything now, Darren, to even this up. So,
Damn right, that's what I'm going to do. No, but
I mean, you know what you should have said.
all of it. He's
Well,
proud
I'm
of
going
all
to wait
of
for his
it.
answer first. Go on.
No, I am obviously proud of those achievements. However, skydiving going to number 4 in the official charts was my favourite.
Yeah, that is true. What you really should have said was having a family, and he wouldn't have been able to deny that.
So does this mean it's now
damn it.
equal?
It's 5-5, yeah.
5-5.
It's 5-5.
They're going to have to arm wrestle.
Oh,
to,
God.
No, I'm just kidding.
Bit of extra content. Well, look, I think that's fair enough. We'll call it a draw. And
look
then
at that.
you've done
There
very
you
well.
go.
Well done.
Boom.
Tim,
Oh, well done.
So we're still here with Force and Styles on Raw, the 90s Rave podcast, with me, Tom Latcham, and Chrissy Richards. You had a partnership, famous partnership with MC Junior. He featured on several of your records. How did you end up working with him in the first place?
Oh, Christ. Well, right back when early days of Oscars, he was emceeing at Oscars. And then then he vanished. I didn't know where he'd gone. I think we can guess where he'd gone. And then a few years later he appeared. He went, "All right, Forsey, what are you up to?" And we played what we're doing. He's like, "What the fuck's this?" Because it had gone so quickly from what was, old proper 92 breakbeaty piano stuff to more fall to the floor, probably 165 at the time, wasn't it? And then it just, I can't remember the actual transition from, did he come straight into the studio or did he come out on a couple of gigs first?
I think he came on a few gigs first, but he'd written Pretty Green Eyes, hadn't he?
He'd written Pretty Green Eyes,
Although
yeah.
it was initially Pretty Brown Eyes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is this a known fact?
I don't remember.
No.
Yeah, no, it was Pretty Brown Eyes because he wrote it about someone with brown eyes, and then he started seeing someone else with green eyes, so he changed it. I'm telling you, it's the truth.
That's fucking amazing.
English way.
I mean, unfortunately, he's not here.
He couldn't not change it.
He's
could
not
he?
here to
Because,
validate
his
that
girlfriend
story,
would
but
have
that is
said,
true.
but his girlfriend at the time would have said,
so
"Who the
jaded.
fuck's this with pretty brown eyes?"
So junior as well.
Yeah.
But the
Could
funny
have just
thing
done
is,
Pretty Eyes. And then
funny
it would
thing
have
is,
been,
I remember when we'd done it, and it was, we just finished it. It was Dougal's birthday, was it? And we'd gone.
It was, yeah,
It was
his
Dougal's
21st.
birthday, his 21st, and we'd gone to Milton Keynes to go karting. And there's a bunch of us. There was Matt, Ramos Supreme, Vinyl Groover, Dougal, a couple of others.
Yeah.
I think Charlie was up there as well. Charlie B, wasn't he?
Yeah, who won that night? Can we
I
remember who
can't
won?
remember now. Who was it? Was it you? Okay.
Yeah, because the people who are lightest win at
That's what it
go-karting.
was.
So
Yeah.
And we'd literally, it must have been that day, we'd kind of been putting it together and got to a point where
Yeah.
we thought, shall we play it to the boys later? Because it was so different. No one had used a male vocal in a hardcore track.
It was a proper song.
It was a
song.
proper,
It wasn't like
proper
a sample.
song. It wasn't as uplifting as other things. I was just like, God, I don't know how they're going to take this. And I remember, I think, was it Dougal come out afterwards, and we're sat in the car. He's going, "Oh, cheers for coming, boys. Dougie, come and have a listen to this. See what you think." And we played it, and he was like, "Fuck, that's incredible." And we're like, "Really? Well, you like it?" He's like, and then everyone heard it. We're like, "Oh, that's absolutely amazing." And it was only at that point that we really kind of realised we was onto
Yeah.
something massive at the time. So, yeah, and that was obviously the first thing that we'd done with him, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So what did you rate about him so much that you made him your MC? I mean, obviously he could sing very well, and that was something different that he brought to it.
I don't think we had any choice in him being our MC.
Yeah. I was going to say, he's one of those guys where he, you know, if you were DJing as a resident down at Oscars, if you didn't know him, it didn't matter because he was on your set anyway. He was going to MC for you. As simple as that. But, you know, his personality was next level. He was doing things differently to anybody else that was out there. And that sort of came through in our tunes as well.
And what was great was as time went, I mean, he's got mates all over, and people loved him everywhere. You know, probably the only big black guy in a hardcore rave, and
singing,
and everyone it disappearing. Where are you going this weekend, Jay? I'm going to Birkenhead to see all my boys. And off he'd go to Birkenhead and stay up in Birkenhead for the week. You know, he had friends all over, and everyone just loved him. So yeah, he's a special character.
And how did you? Yeah, sorry. Go on,
How did you feel when he went to prison for burglary?
I mean, that was right at the time he was just being signed to Diverse, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And
it was bad timing.
Very bad timing. However, they all kind of got round us, and they were trying to they all come to court, and obviously, you know, said, oh, this is what he's up to, this is what he's doing. Obviously still didn't really help the situation, and he ended up doing his time. So it's devastating, really, wasn't it? But I can't remember the timeline of how things happened. We already recorded some bits at that time, hadn't we? Or was it after he come out? I can't remember how.
No, I think we'd pretty much recorded
everything, yeah.
Maybe not cutting deep.
So it was more to the point of he couldn't do any live stuff and couldn't do any promotion and anything like that. So yeah, it was a bit devastating at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then so we tried to have people. Obviously, I think Charlie did a lot of our sets.
Yeah.
At the time,
he stepped in, didn't he?
Whilst until that famed day at Helter Skelter when he stood on the stage and
that was Helter Skelter Nightlife '99,
the Braveheart moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Moment, yeah.
So you stood by him.
Of course.
Yeah. Was there any thought that you wouldn't do that? I mean, you know, it's not a great look. I know you shouldn't speak ill of the dead, but he was a burglar, and it's not a great look to be associated with a burglar. Was there any thought that you'd stand by him?
The thing is, the difference was he did that prior to us knowing him, didn't he? As far as I'm aware, because actually, what happened was he was on the run, wasn't he? So, and then they finally
He's
caught.
Making it worse, isn't he?
Well, no, he was. He never know. So what I'm saying was he'd made some mistakes,
in a pole after him.
He'd made some mistakes, and then you know, things were changing. You know, he'd got involved with us, and the music was going well. And you know, to my knowledge, he hadn't done anything untoward in that time.
It was unfortunate that it was something that had happened years ago, and I think I can't remember how it actually happened, but he got grassed up by an ex-girlfriend. And,
would that be over the green eyes, brown eyes?
Quite possibly, yeah.
It might have been the cat.
It was the brown eyed one.
Maybe it was a blue-eyed one.
Yeah.
But do you know what? The funny thing is, as much as you say, oh, would you stick by it? There was I think Pacific Sun was written whilst in prison, wasn't it? I mean, that was earlier. But you say about, you know, he'd written that whilst inside, I believe, and then he come out,
right.
And then we started doing that 96. It wasn't, because we
come back from Australia.
We come back from Australia and finished it, and that's how it got the name Pacific Sun. It's because we started this track.
Right. Everyone
would have naturally called it Lullaby, but we'd just been to Australia, got back, and named it Pacific Sun. There you go.
And obviously, he sadly passed away in January 2012. How did you feel when you heard the news?
Devastated. I mean, it's
this is a shock, wasn't it?
Yeah, I had a friend of mine that I hadn't spoke to, a guy called Sean, phoned us up, who had been good mates with Jay. And actually, funny enough, Sean used to drive us around, didn't he? A lot of the time doing PAs and stuff like that. I'd not spoken to him for years, and he'd phoned me up and told me about it. I just think I cried for hours, to be honest. So, yeah, I mean, what can you say? I mean, it was devastating at the time, and every New Year since then, there's, play a track for him and have a drink for him and everything else. But yeah, there is a funny thing to that. When I was listening to some old DATs a few months back, just going through some old DATs and old recordings of vocal sessions that we'd done, and I was just sitting there just laughing my head off because there's Jay singing a song which used to take a while, didn't it? I mean,
there's a good few takes involved.
The brilliant thing about him, when he got the right take, it was genius, because you just go, that's it. But to get there took a lot of work and a lot of DATs half the time, didn't it? But the conversations between us and just listening to it, I mean, we should actually put some of the stuff on.
You absolutely should, 100%.
It is so funny. And I remember one of you getting the ump with him and going, for God's sake, Jay, just get it right, man.
But do you know what he would do differently to everybody else is that most people would write their lyrics down and sort of, go through them and create that way. His literally would come from the top of his head, wasn't it? Most of it. A lot of the time, he'd just almost be freestyling, but not rapping, just singing. And then sometimes we'd end up taking the best cuts and just splicing it together. But we'd be like, yes, Jay, that was the line, that one there, remember that again. Do that again. He'd be
no chance.
He'd forgotten it already. Do you know what I mean? Then he was on to the next one. So that's why we just kept the DAT running, and he'd just record it all.
So there's loads of that. And what we used to do as well was take parts of, so he'd just ad-lib, and then we'd take parts we like and then finish writing the song as well. That happened on a few occasions.
I definitely think some of that should be part of your 25th anniversry
I think it
releases.
should do. I mean,
I think people would love to also just hear stuff from Junior after his passing, Well,
we used to do some recordings of for our parties, the UK dance parties down in Clacton, and you used to do some of them, didn't you? But Junior did some, and it's just hilarious trying, because it was scripted, and that was the worst thing in the world you could do for Junior, script anything, because I don't think we ended up going, like that, and we just ended up going with what he did half the time. But yeah, it does bring, it's so sad in passing, it does bring a smile listening to some of that old stuff. And
he lives on in some of your biggest records.
Absolutely.
He does. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
And actually one of the funniest things, that's not funny because pretty grenades, a lot of people won't know this, because a lot of people don't look at lyrics and follow the lyrics. They just sing along to the melody and stuff like that. So the actual song was fantastic. When Ultra Beat did the song, if you remember this, we got sent the Ultra Beat version. We're listening to it and it sounds a bit strange, that one. And they changed, they misheard some of the lyrics, and they got the words wrong in the song. So we'd phoned up all around the world and said, yeah, they've got some of the lyrics wrong. They said, well, we've pressed 200,000 now. There's not a lot we could do about it. So we got released and did all of that with the wrong lyric.
All right.
So, and it wasn't Pretty Brown Eyes that they put in there.
No, that's good.
No, it was the lyric, though life's been unkind, but they sung Let Me Remind.
So, I mean, it had a real meaning. Though life's been unkind, she chose not to cry, became Let Me Remind, she chose not to cry, which doesn't have quite the same
doesn't
meaning.
actually even make sense.
It doesn't really make sense.
Didn't matter though.
No. And interestingly enough, there's there's a version being done at the moment by some house guys. We got asked by the publishing company, is it okay for them to do it? And has listened to it. It sounds quite nice, doesn't it?
Yeah, that sounds really good.
But they've used the lyric from the Ultra Beat version, because obviously they don't know the other one. Yeah. So to go back, could you ask them to change this, please, before they finish it?
Are they going to?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Good.
So,
And how did Jenna come into your lives?
She firstly lived around the corner from Paul.
literally about 8 doors away.
It's all very handy, this, isn't it?
It's very incestuous, isn't it?
It was literally, everything was falling in her lap at the time, wasn't it? It was just one of those. But she was going out with a guy called Dave, who was
happened to live at mine.
living at Paul's.
Oh, there you go.
And she also went to my school, and I knew she could sing because I'd seen her in sort of various plays at school and stuff. And so we thought we'd give it a go, didn't we?
Yeah, and good job we did, really.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
worked out perfectly. I mean, the great thing was, if ever we had, and because the studio was in my house, if ever we needed to pop round and can you sing or re-sing something or whatever, she's just around the corner.
She is, I mean, when it comes to hardcore, she's probably the only vocalist that everyone knows the name of.
There'd be Jen and there'd be Lisa, I should think. But Jen's she's such a sweet, isn't she? She's just such a lovely girl.
Yeah.
So everybody knows who Jenna is, but
Everyone
with a
knows
lot
Jenna.
of tunes people will sing along to. They've no idea who that vocalist is, but everybody knows who Jenna is.
Yeah, absolutely.
What
She
would
had a
you
very
like to work
distinctive
with?
voice as well, didn't she?
She did.
Oh my gosh, she had more bounce than Zebedee. She was,
She still has.
yeah, she still has.
Still has got more bounce than
I mean,
Zebedee.
she was a really fun personality, really nice girl.
But
wasn't she?
nothing was ever too much of a problem. No vocalist nails it first time, so it didn't matter how many times it took. She'd be there until we said, "Yep, it's right. Yeah, we got it." And then and that's how it worked. Some were done quicker than others. Luckily, he could he could sing a damn sight better than me. But you'd laugh when I'm trying to get an idea over. If I'd written a vocal, trying to get an idea over to Darren.
How come there's never been any duets in hardcore?
There has.
There has.
Oh, have there? Yeah. I mean, that sounds awful, but
Yeah, Paradise and
There
Dreams.
has.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a duet version, which was Junior and Keelia.
Ah.
Yeah. And
What,
Keelia,
did you never want to do a duet with anybody? Because you can sing, obviously, Darren.
I think they'd show me up, mate, to be honest.
Right, okay.
I'm happy to do a duet.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
Why stop at 2? I mean, we'll all do it. We'll all get involved.
Just layer it up. It'll be good. Yeah, I mean,
You did say that during COVID you were experimenting with a different sound.
This is true.
This is a very different sound.
Yeah, let's go for it.
And I can tell you it's never been heard before.
Probably never again afterwards.
Those songs that you created with Jenna and with Junior, they put you into another sphere, really, didn't they? And you were playing out to huge numbers at raves every week. You got the first hardcore act to do a Pete Tong Essential Selection mix on Radio 1. You must have felt absolutely on top of your game, Darren.
We did, yeah. But again, like I said before, you're in the moment, so you're going through the motions. And even though we were making those tunes like Heart of Gold and Pretty Green Eyes, they were all firsts for us and probably firsts for everyone else. Like I say, when we played them to the guys at Dougal's 21st birthday, it's like it was like nothing was scripted. So we were going with the flow. Unfortunately, the flow at the time was
right.
Was right. Yeah, I think we were doing something that hadn't been done before, because the irony is, and I've said this before, is that when we were trying to make tunes initially with the vocalist, most big tunes just had hooks. They were like a big chorus or a sample or something like that. So when we had the use of Junior and Jenna, and obviously Paul with his writing of the songs, there was more scope to do more, make an actual song-based record, which most people probably wouldn't have thought would have worked, probably even including us at the time, actually putting a full verse and chorus or a bridge or a song on, a 170 BPM hardcore record. It wasn't something that had been done. No. So, which is why we were probably a bit tentative when we'd ask people, if they were going to like it, and then suddenly,
Do you think Pete Tong liked it? Do you think it was he heard it and no?
No, I very much doubt it.
No, I doubt it. I mean, in all honesty, we kind of, like most things in life, you kind of get aided with things getting in certain places, and we had some friends that were batting in our corner, basically, that kind of pushed it in the right direction. It just happened to happen. So, whether he was happy with it, who knows? Pete might be able to tell us.
And did you like the tunes that you were making? You were ravers. If you'd have been raving and you'd have heard those songs, would you have liked those songs to rave to?
I don't think we would have made them if we didn't. We were making music that we...
Well, a perfect example of that is, I think, the later stuff we weren't happy with and didn't like so much. So,
And they didn't end up in our sets, so no. we'd be making stuff and then they wouldn't end up in a set.
What about With or Without You?
I love With or Without You.
That's one of your favourites, wasn't it?
Yeah. Do you not like it, Tom?
Not hugely, no.
God, what's wrong with you, man?
I think that towards the late 90s, the beat got too soft. So, and that's what you were saying. You were trying for a cleaner sound, and I think that cleaner sound took away the rawness that I personally
okay,
like.
so there is a slight story behind that. That was for... Which record label was it for? Multiply.
It was Diverse, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. Was Mary Kiani on?
Yeah. Can't remember.
Because, funnily enough, that kick drum was the same kick drum that we used for everything. I think we just toned it down a touch. And actually what we've done was set it back because I think we got asked to sit it back in the mix a little bit for the release version. So that if it was softer for any reason, that was it. Because generally it was for a housey type label at the end of the day. Right. So yeah, it wasn't done on purpose by us. It's just direction.
Okay. And I mean, things did get very cheesy into the very late 90s, but in the whole scene. I mean, I think that's accepted and known. What happened? Did people just get too complacent? Did people get lazy? Were there too many people in the scene that saw there was a bit of money to be made by making some crap tunes? What was it?
I couldn't tell you the answer to that, if I'm honest. I don't know what the answer is.
I don't know. I think everyone's scrapping around trying to find something to work. And 99 times out of 100, they weren't the right things. And the other thing as well, like pretty much like you're saying, people trying to earn some money. If certain styles were selling better than others at the time, then people were just going to make it to earn some money because there wasn't that much money around. You know, record sales were dropping considerably, weren't they?
And attendance was dropping at the gigs as well. And, I think it's just a combination of stuff because, like Paul said, back then, on the spectrum of genres or dance music, there wasn't, particularly now, there's not as many as there was now, but there was suddenly trance was coming in and drum and bass was getting even bigger. Hard house was becoming a thing. So when kids were coming through to listen to dance music, they didn't just have jungle or drum and bass. Or happy hardcore. They suddenly had, there's trance there. We like that. Or there's hard house. Or there's this and there was more to choose from. So there was a combination of all sorts of things was causing different ripples, I think.
Is it correct that Heart of Gold, that you don't want it to chart, but it was pushed back and that impacted upon its chart position and it never made the top 40? I read this somewhere. I don't know if it's true. I might be wrong. And then, given that it didn't do that, it didn't make that breakthrough, and then the interest faded, and then that was the end of that sort of...
Was it pushed back? I don't remember it being pushed back. I remember the story behind, or not the story, the actual what happened with Heart of Gold, because the label, we kind of got drawn into everything, didn't we? The label came to us and said, right, we want a pop version. Pick anyone you want to sing it. And we loved, obviously, Set You Free and Kelly, and we said, we want Kelly to sing it 100%. Which, looking back, was probably a little unfair on Jen. However, Kelly had a number 2. She never went to number 1, did it? Set You Free. But, she was already a pop star, so to speak. And then they said, who do you want to produce it? And then we were looking around and I found an article with Elliot Kennedy, who had done all the Spice Girls stuff and everything like that. And we sort of chatted about it and went, it's got to be this dude, isn't it? I mean, he's had his last 20 singles have been top 10s. We was the first one that wasn't. But
was that his fault?
No, I mean those guys did a good job.
But again, this is all a learning curve because this was all new, and suddenly when you get sort of, record label get involved or bigger record labels, and they're saying to you, you could do it like this, and it could go here and it could go there, and you're going to be A-list on Radio 1. Suddenly it's like, oh wow, this could be cool, and especially we were younger as well. It was all different. It was exciting, and
to work with people like that, it was just it was ridiculous in this massive studio in Sheffield. I mean, the other guys, Tim and Mike, wasn't it, were from Dead or Alive. They'd been in Dead or Alive in the 80s, and working with those guys, it was incredible. And I remember, God, in that studio, we met Howard Donald was in there recording, and the girls that went on to do the. Actually, she became Chaz in Emmerdale. So she had a band, and met them there as well. So it was just riding the waves, weren't we, at the time? Yeah. But I do remember when we first went in there, they were listening to it and going, right, how are we going to do this? Because they would know for just they did 5, didn't they? Was it 5? And they did a lot of boy band, girl band stuff. And so we thought it was going to become that kind of thing. And they said, right, we're going to have to keep this dancey. So try to make it sound a bit sash at the time. And it just wasn't strong like that.
It was a pop production team trying to make a dance record that wasn't aimed at the dance floor, and it was never going to work.
And when you started doing solo stuff, was around about 98, was that correct? You were still a duo, weren't you?
Did that unique stuff, yeah.
Did that cause any friction at all?
No,
You didn't
not
mind?
at all. Gave me more tracks to play.
Because it was like a track here and there. So it wasn't like I was just... It was if the studio was free.
Well, that's it, isn't it? You used to, if I was in the office, you'd be in the studio, and you know, and then if I was done in the office, we'd go back in and work on some Force and Style stuff, and there was never an issue. And it was all very different as well, wasn't it? You know, the style was different, obviously.
But just quickly going back to sort of Junior and Jenna, I think that they were massive contributors to the Force and Style sound, obviously, and to our success, because you just can't imagine another voice singing those songs. I can't imagine someone else singing Heart of Gold and Pretty Green Eyes.
Give it a good go.
Do you know what I mean?
You really don't want that, seriously.
No, we don't.
But they were big, very big contributors.
Well, it's the same with the
to
PAs
us.
as well, because I think the PAs helped, and I think Chrissy touched on earlier about.
Well, that allows you to do PAs as well, doesn't it? That you have your own singer. And
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I remember the guy with the guitar and
Colin
Jenna
with the
singing
guitar,
and,
and like, if you was at Tribal Gathering and you saw that set, you'll remember at the end there was Colin on guitar, Junior on mic, and Darren on piano.
I've got photos.
Have you got photos of it?
I have, yeah.
And we did that. What was the name of the song? It wasn't
Another Level? No?
Another Level. It was Another Level, wasn't it? And then we did that at Hardcore Heaven at Sanctuary. And it was just epic. We finished in the PA, and unfortunately, the PA was recorded, but the one thing I didn't record was this bit at the end. And the whole of the Sanctuary with lighters up was just going back and forth to this, what was literally a pop song, I guess, at the end of the day. It certainly wasn't a hardcore track at the time.
wouldn't get that now with a smoking ban.
No, absolutely.
No one's got a lighter.
No.
It's not today. Tell me when. Tell me when. Tell me when.
Okay, so we put together a mega mix, which is 23 of your tunes. And we've taken those samples and made like basically a 1 minute mega mix. So we're going to play this, and you have to write down all the tunes you can hear. And this is a competition, by the way,
just
lads.
write
So
down
no cheating.
all our tunes, then
I've
surely
got to
something
say,
will be
I
in the
think I
right
know
order.
who's going to win, and the reason I say it is because what you said, Paul, about Darren's melodic ear.
Yeah,
and his ear for
exactly.
the
I
music.
have no
think
hope in
he's,
this. I think
yeah.
I'm going to give this to him.
Do you know what? I don't feel confident.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we shall see. Good luck to both.
Jesus Christ. Never got these in order. Jesus Christ.
The rainbow's down, but the sun still shines.
Thank God for that. Oh, that's about as good as it gets.
I will say though, it's quite useful that you use the same kick drum throughout your entire career, because probably made Paul's life easier putting together that
Well, no,
mega
the
mix.
kick drum was taken from a specific tune.
Yeah, I just nicked the beats from something or other. Done it all live on the decks over there.
So,
I'll best elaborate on that one then.
or you just be honest. You might your own. Just be honest.
How about we'll just
be honest.
read them out.
No
You know,
cheating.
and
I mean, we
you-
know this one anyway, Paul.
You
So I
can
won't worry
give
about it.
yourselves.
I
Are
knew
we going to tick? Are we?
Just give yourselves a tick. Okay, we ready?
anyone can see me right at the bottom here.
Perfect Dreams.
Did you get that?
Yeah, I didn't even get that in there, to be honest with you. No.
Did you get that, Darren?
Yes.
Yes, it did.
Field of Dreams.
No, I didn't even get that in there.
Yes, the first one.
I was just literally writing stuff down and miles behind on everything, to be honest.
Pacific Sun.
Nah, I didn't even get that down there.
You're
joking, 40. What's going on? Just literally.
Should we just say I won?
Do you know what? I was just lost with all the early 90s stuff that I was not even listening to what was going on half the time.
Down to Love.
No, definitely didn't get that.
I didn't get that.
12 Midnight.
I knew that was on there. Didn't write it down.
Give yourself a point.
Thanks, mate.
Fall Down on Me.
Yes, I got that one.
No, I
Thank
didn't get
you.
that was the beat, right? No, I didn't get it.
Follow Me,
Yeah, got that.
Dancing Through the Night.
No.
Oh, it's already in 101, so
I was going to say
didn't
you
have
blocked it out of your
Yeah.
memories. Shining Down,
Yeah.
I don't know if I got that. No, I didn't put that down there either.
Wonderland.
Yes, I
Oh,
got
I didn't
that.
get that.
That's in there twice as well.
Is it?
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah.
That was an homage to you, Paul.
Oh, thanks, Paul.
Putting song in twice.
Yes, well done. In case you missed it the first time.
Just to make sure I got it, yeah. I like
Pretty
Star.
Green Eyes.
Yeah.
All Systems Go.
Yeah.
All Over the World.
Yeah.
No.
Harmony.
Yeah. It's there somewhere.
Raining Smiles.
Oh, no, I didn't get that.
Your Love.
No.
Did I? Oh, I thought I put that down.
Give
I
yourself
heard
another
it.
point.
Thanks, mate. I just need all the help I can get.
Frankie's Lead.
Yeah.
Simply Electric.
Yeah.
Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Oh, well done.
No, I didn't get that one.
Yeah, oh, is it tighter than it looks?
Stampede.
Oh, no, I didn't get that one.
Heart of Gold.
Yeah.
I didn't even put that down. to be
Oh
honest.
my God. Apollo 13.
Do you know
No,
what?
I missed that one as well. Heard it, but I missed it.
Nah, didn't.
Okay, and finally, Paradise and Dreams.
You know what?
Oh,
Funny
look,
enough,
I've got fireworks in there.
I've
You didn't
got
even put it
fireworks in
there.
fireworks was in there, wasn't it?
I don't know. I just heard an old one and thought that's got to be fireworks.
I don't think I put fireworks in.
I thought it was.
No.
So, how many did you get, chaps?
I got 11.
13.
Darren is the reigning champion.
Only I'd got another 3.
So, Darren, is this now your biggest achievement?
I think we can safely say this.
fuck off.
This tops it all.
Family.
I'd conceded this before I'd even written anything down, so I'm more than happy that he's won. I'm pleased for him.
Well done, boys. Well done. Very good.
Can I hear some noise for the last one from Force and Styles?
So, we are coming to the end, sadly, of our exclusive interview with Force and Styles. They don't give many, but they have come here to speak to R.O.A.R, the 90s Rave podcast today, and it's been an absolute joy and a pleasure. And I've got to say thank you very much for doing so. It's really interesting and insightful. We want to sort of wrap it up by talking about now and the present. And Darren, you know, as we've established, you're a jet-setting international A-list EDM star. What's that like? Are you recognised? Do you get stopped anywhere? I mean, you've got a very distinctive look. You're very good looking, etc. I'll stop now.
Thank you very much. I'll just wait for my head to go a little bit smaller. How is it? I mean, I still love it. I still love the job that I do. I guess I can't even really call it a job. It's still my hobby that I've been able to make a career out of. I still love making music. I still want it. It's almost like I'm addicted to it because I'm addicted to making music that affects people and gets a reaction on the dance floor and gives people a feeling of some kind. So that then affects me.
And with that in mind, you haven't been able to do that for the best part of 6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
How has that impacted upon you in several ways, but mentally, for example?
Mentally, fine, because I'm getting to spend more time with the girls and do normal stuff, like take Millie to football on a Saturday morning, which I couldn't do. And I feel like I can be more helpful to Fiona because, you know, a lot of the time she just has to be a single parent basically because I'm away so often. She understands why. I never get any grief. It's you know, we've got a great relationship when it comes to that sort of stuff, but there's a lot of things that I miss. I miss birthdays and not so much the girls. I try and work it that I'm always there for that sort of thing. But, you know, friends' weddings and stuff like that, I've often missed those sorts of things, which you can't get those times back. So, excuse me, that I'm enjoying the fact that I can be leader, for want of a better word, normal life.
And how are you coping financially? Because that is a big loss.
It is a big loss. Yeah, it's funny because at the beginning of it, when it was sort of kind of wiped out, you know, I think I was explaining it to Fiona. I was like, "Oh man, I've lost X amount of money this year." And Millie pipes up, and she's 9 years old, and she said, "Well, Daddy, you haven't really lost anything. You just haven't gained it." And, you know, she's dead right. She's
Smart
absolutely
kid.
right, because I've not lost it. I just have, you know, it's just money that I haven't earned this year.
I know, but you do need money, don't you? I mean, yeah.
You do. And, you know, I'm in a fortunate position. I've been in the game for a long time. I've been sensible with my money. I've bought a few silly cars. But apart from that, I've been quite sensible. So, you know, when things come back again, if they do, hopefully they will, then, it'll be full steam ahead again.
What do you think the future of like raving is post coronavirus? That's a question you can both answer, really.
Wow. Who knows? I mean, you're guaranteed that people are going to want to go out and party when it does happen, but what they're going to be listening to, who knows?
And maybe no one will care. So maybe now's the time to put out all of your
folk dance call.
Absolutely, yeah. Why not? I mean, you don't know what promoters are going to do. Promoters might do things differently. They might not just do, you know, single genre events or whatever. They might mix it up again.
Do you think they should? I mean, I really do. I genuinely think. I wasn't old enough to go to those events, and they look fantastic. I love the music, all of that music, and it's just a variation, spice of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when we used to do UK Dance, Rumours in Clacton, very much it was all dance music, but there'd be an old school set, there'd be a drum and bass set, there'd be hardcore, there'd be different types of hardcore. I think the problem is today that, certainly with hardcore events, it's just very flatlined. You know, it's the same thing most of the night. I might get thrown in to play an old school set, but generally a lot of the kids are so young now, they're like, what's the grey hair bloke doing? You know, and a lot of the time it is like that, because because the music's, even if it's not the best music out there, the production is so much better than it was 25 years ago. It just absolutely bangs, and you come on and play the older stuff, and there is that difference, isn't there, in the dance hall and the sound system. But I think definitely stuff needs to be mixed up. I think that mixed genre events is definitely the way to go, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that, definitely, because it's almost like the rest of the world got onto this a long time ago, but actually the UK tends to go down the one route with the style of music on a lineup. And so I think that's definitely something that would be beneficial, particularly in this country.
And what impact has COVID had on your production? Because is it making you create?
Yeah, I've
something else.
Yeah, I've definitely been more experimental. Whether or not it's something that's going to work or not, I have no idea. Because, you know, like I said to you before, it's like even though I've been in this game for a long time, I still question the stuff I make. I never walk out of a studio thinking, man, I've made an absolute banger there. The only time I'll sort of be confident is once I've played it out and I see the reaction it gets. Because otherwise you can't really second guess anything. And at the moment, I can't gauge anything because I can't get the reaction. You know, even off doing streams, you can get a reaction on certain tunes. Will generate a bit more chat on the forums and stuff. But apart from that, there's nothing like actually seeing a physical reaction on the dance floor to know whether or not you've got something. And
there's a danger because of what's happening, and I'm interested to know what you think should happen. Because the government have stopped anything past 10. Nightlife it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. Is that just unavoidable, or is there something that you think that could be done? Are the government failing the nighttime industries?
I think anyone involved in the nighttime industry will have a very different opinion on than someone that isn't. So it's difficult for me to say, because it's not my income. It's not my main income now, and I just do it if I get asked to do it. So it doesn't affect me in that kind of way. Obviously different with Darren, all the other guys that he's working with at the moment, because it very much is. What the right thing to do is, I wouldn't have the answer. You need people in power to make those decisions. It's not going to happen, is it? Let's be honest. And I think the dance scene or music in general tried to do it themselves with the streams, because everyone and their cat was doing a stream. Maybe the hamster was throwing it as well to help on occasion. Mm-hmm. I understand that Facebook have put a stop to that, haven't they?
Have they?
From what I've been told.
A lot of, I think they have. I mean, there's a lot of, there's copyright issues as well and stuff, and they've got algorithms that stops tunes being played.
It's ridiculous.
A bit difficult that in a DJ set, isn't it?
Yeah. So what do you do? I think we just sit back, we wait. There's no amount of demonstrating and shouting, I don't want this to happen, that's going to stop it and change it, is there?
We need to buy some land, right? Dig under, make a giant bunker, right? That's fully soundproofed, and we hold raves in that.
Let's see where you go.
That's my plan.
See where
we all just club together, buy some land. Who's going to know?
Alternatively, you can you buy an island which isn't run by anybody, so they've got no laws. Take everyone to it.
Well, I hear there's one going since what's his face died. Paedophile Island.
Epstein.
That's it.
So get over to Epstein and have a big old rave.
There's a spare island there.
Do you feel, Darren, that obviously it's difficult for you during this year, but in terms of the future of what you do and the people that you play to, do you think that you're protected in a way? Because there will always be those big raves, but there won't necessarily be a 300, 400, 800, 1,000 capacity venue that the rave DJs play at.
I think that as long as the big gigs are still there, the small ones will come back, because it's kind of like they feed the big ones anyway, don't they, essentially, because that's the grassroots. So I guess, I'm never any good at predicting stuff, but I feel like I'm one of the fortunate ones, because when and if it does come back, I feel like, particularly if I'm staying relevant by releasing music, because I've been there for so long and hopefully established my name enough that I'll still get chosen to be put on the lineups. In terms of the smaller gigs, obviously, that's where I feel like some DJs are going to obviously struggle, as are the club owners. It's like, who knows what's going to happen. I just hope that if it's sort of, say March, April next year, if things turn around again, hopefully it's not too long so that things don't completely just crumble.
I guess the problem is, though, if it is March, April, that still counts out most of the summer festivals. So they're not going to happen. No one's got time to organise a festival from April.
Yeah. How can you go from not having any clubs open or festivals to suddenly having 60,000 people in a field? It doesn't seem feasible. Yet, I'm still booked to play EDC Portugal next June, I think it is, and Creamfields next August, and all the big festivals, Tomorrowland and DEF CON, they're still going ahead as far as we know at the moment. So it's whether or not they do go ahead. No one knows. Literally, your guess is as good as mine.
We're fucked then.
Yep.
Looking back on the 90s and the rave scene, because this is the 90s Rave podcast, what was each of yours favourite year of the 90s and why, in terms of your careers and your...
It has to be 96, doesn't it?
I was going to say 96.
Yeah.
Oh,
got to be
same
96.
year.
Why?
Yeah.
Why? Because that's really when it all blew up for us. I mean, we'd done the stuff in 95, but Heart of Gold, Pretty Green Eyes, Pacific Sun, all written in 96.
I mean, we played our biggest gigs like 97, 98, didn't we? But 96 was the year that the music was sort of born, I suppose, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, very much. So I think it has to be that year, definitely, for me.
What do you think it was that was just made the 90s so special?
I think it was all brand new. Everything that was happening was new. Whereas in a sense now everything that happens is some kind of recycled way of, even the house music of today, the big house records, they're still pulling from what was going on 20 years ago. Whereas back then everything was an experiment, and it was all so new. So everything you would listen to was like, flipping out, I've not heard this before. Yeah,
I think going back as well to what we said before about it changing so much within a few years, everything experimental, and I think we were just lucky, weren't we? We just hit the nail on the head at the right time, even though it wasn't for as long as probably would have hoped it would be. But those 3 years were bloody amazing,
Will it ever be repeated? That era?
No. Quite simply, I think times have changed, haven't they?
Maybe you hold the power, some sort of Force and Styles post-coronavirus re-amalgamation.
Put on by Chrissy Richards of Walking Guys.
I mean, the thing to remember as well is that trying to relive the 90s, I mean, everyone's cracking on a bit now, and you're really going to be pulling, apart from the few younger people that will go along to see what it's all about, most of the people there are going to be a lot older, hurtling towards their 50s at a rate of knots. So I think, you know, to reinvent it is probably, you know, we're beyond that, I suspect.
And finally, and we ask all our guests this, who would you like us to interview on R.O.A.R, the 90s Rave podcast, and why from the 90s Rave scene?
Actually, we were talking about this before, weren't we, in the car on the way up? That, Chris Brown would be someone decent, because obviously he was part of the whole movement.
Different side of it as well, because Chris very much come from the promoting side, even though he got into the producing side of things. So he covers kind of both bases, really. And I think I'd suggest to you, Chrissy, before maybe getting Terry Turbo involved as well, because he'd have a whole different slant on everything. And Terry was a complete and utter nutcase, so in the nicest possible way.
And Dougal as well. Dougal would be...
Oh, Dougal, yeah.
So
particularly
doesn't
good to
seem
get on.
to do a lot of interviews.
See, Dougal was quite...
but he's been there since the beginning, so...
He was very much involved in us breaking through as DJs.
Yeah. He got us our
Massively.
first booking at Helter Skelter, didn't he?
Yeah. He was. People don't realise that he'd be on the phone every day going, I'm trying to get you this and trying to get you that. And it was really down to him that those first big gigs happened. So, you know, the tunes obviously helped, but Dougal, being who he was at the time, was opened some doors for us.
And you said you had a story about Chris Brown you were going to tell us.
Oh, well, it sounds like that's an opportune
So now's
moment,
the
isn't
time.
No, what it was when we would... Yeah, what was I going off of, though? It was...
It was messiest moments. I
Messiest
think.
moments, because things got messier as the years progressed. Yeah, so when
you must have been pulling your hair out as someone who doesn't do that.
I was totally out of my depth, to be fair. No, I was. In those situations, I was out of my depth. But we went to Ibiza in 1995.
God, yeah.
And I think, again, it was a United Dance out there.
Room 101.
You're going to put that in there, yeah. So there was myself, Dougal Vibes, Slip Matt, Paul, Terry Turbo, Chris Brown.
Is this the same time that Slipmatt did his first pills?
Yes.
Right.
So that's what I was going to get
And
to.
interestingly
because
enough, I think the first time that Dougal had a beer, wasn't it?
What?
I think it was actually.
Yeah. He had his first...
I don't know why I find that so
Honestly,
funny.
that particular trip was a game changer in, you know, a lot of things. Whether it was a good game changer, I don't know. But yeah, it's sort of like the hedonism came in and sort of like you said
That
about
means that Dougal will be
Slipmatt.
taking his first pill in about 2025.
But yeah, that's definitely where drugs played a part in terms of the artists as well. That's where things changed. I'm glad Slipmatt said that, because I wouldn't have brought that up. But obviously Matt's mentioned that, and yeah, it was that was quite a big change, actually.
Yeah, it's one of those trips that was, you know, you look back and you just wince and just go, yeah, we'll forget about that one.
So the best part for me, though, right, was it was at the time, I don't know if you remember this, but Seduction would always wear a Kangol hat. He would always wear it backwards, right? And we all went out on some jet skis, and his Kangol hat fell off, right, in the wind, right, into the sea. And then the next day, and this is no joke, right, the next day we were all out on pedlos. I'm not even joking. And I looked down and I was like, holy shit, there's Seduction's hat. Right? And honestly, I dived off the pedalo. It's like a Daniel Craig, James Bond moment, right? Dived off this pedalo, came down, come back up with this Kangol hat, thinking I was a ledge. Like, John, I've got your hat. Oh, God.
That is a good story.
Good time.
That's a good one to end on. Thank you very much, boys, for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, joy, really insightful and interesting. And hopefully, COVID will fuck off and we can all enjoy 25 years, even if it's 26.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of Force and Styles.
Sounds good to me. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are listening to the R.O.A.R, the 90s Rave podcast. Go to our YouTube page, run all the social medias. You can email us hello@the90sravepodcast.co.uk. Hope you've enjoyed it. Well, that's it from this week's edition of R.O.A.R. We hope you've enjoyed tuning in. If you want to give us a hand to create more and better 90s rave-related content while getting shouts on future episodes and getting your hands on some artwork designed exclusively for us by Grant Us Arts, you can do so by heading to gofundme.com the 90s Rave podcast. Just a few quid will help, anything at all, frankly, but it would go a long way to helping us keep this thing going. That address again, gofundme.com /the 90s Rave podcast. And we'll see you all next week.